Shabbat Shalom. Cantor Amy, Shabbat,
Shabbat
Shalom.
Shalom.
With you, Shabbat Shalom to all who are joining us wherever you are. You know, Pavlov set up that famous experiment where he taught the dogs to salivate when he rung his bell. I hear the first words of Yedid Nefesh, and a piece of me says, I made it. I made it. I made it through the end of this week. A piece of me just begins to relax and start to move into Shabbat. If you're there with me, if you heard those first few beautiful bars and you're starting to feel the holiness and the rest creeping in, then wonderful. And if you're not quite there yet, if it's going to take a few more psalms, a little more singing before you truly start to move into Shabbat, know that that's okay. This Kabbalat Shabbat service is a meditation. It's a meditation through the lens of these Psalms, inviting us to walk our way through the last moments of the week and into the sweetness of Shabbat. Invite you to join us on that journey. We'll start with Psalm 95, Lehuna Ranana.
Let's do a little call and response. Lehuna Ranana.
Lehuna Ranana.
Ladonai. Naria, Letsoishenu, Nekad Mafanav, Vetoda, Bizmirot, Narialo, Lechune Ranina Ladonai. Now we are the two shame. They can't map on the betoda. Please me road, now be alone. Lechune running the ladonai. Now we are the two shame. They can't map on the betoda. Please me road, now be alone. Kiel gadol Adonai, u'malach gadol kol Elohim. Asher biyado mechkari avetz, v'to'afot harim lo. Asher lo hayam behu asau, ve'abesh et yadav yatzaru. Bo'u nishtachave v'nichra, nivracha livnei Adonai Yoseinu. Lechu neranina ladonai. Now me on it so yishen, nekad mapanam petoda. Please me book, now be alone. Lechune running a ladonai. Now me on it so yishen, nekad mapanam petoda. Please me book, now be alone. Ki hu Eloheinu, va'anachnu amarito v'tzon yado. Hayom im bekolo tishmau, al tagshu lebavchem kimriva. Kayom esa bamidbar, asher nisuni avotechem, v'chanuni gam ra'ufu ali. Lechu neranina ladonai. Now me avetzu yishen, nekad mapanam betoda. Please me vote, now be alone. Lechune ranina ladonai. Now me avetzu yishen, nekad mapanam betoda. Please me vote, now be alone. Let's do a little more call and response. So we're at the end of the psalm and we'll sing Arba'im Shana.
Arba'im Shana.
Akud bedor.
Akud bedor.
Va'omar.
Omar.
Am toy levavhem.
Levav
V'hem lo yadeu.
Hem lo yadu.
Derachai.
Derachai.
Asher nishbati v'pi. Im yava'un al menuchati. Adonai, kol ha'aretz
little more call and response, because why not? Because it's so fun. And if you're at home, I hope you're shouting this out with us. Yismechu hashamayim
Hu hashamayim
v'tagel haaretz
v'tagel haaretz
yiram hayam
Yiram hayam
umelo'o
Melo
ya'alo sadai
Alo Sadai
v'chol asher bo
V'chol asher bo
az yiranenu
Aziranenu
kol atzeya
Latseya
livnei Adonai kiva
Adonai Kiva
kiva lishpot haaretz.
Kiva lishpot haaretz.
And I'll finish this part. Yishpot tevel b'tzedek v'ami be'emunato.
Cantor, I just want to thank you so much on behalf of the whole community for demonstrating that even a tune-deaf person can grow up to have a job where they need to regularly sing in front of people. So I hope that that gives hope to people out there, wherever they are, that if I can be singing along with you, God help us all, then you can too. That's what I'm here to do. I'm here to make people feel good about themselves.
You're doing great.
Oh, great. At that.
So this morning, I was at TVT for the first all-school, it was the first Kabbalat Shabbat of the year, and it was an all-school Kabbalat Shabbat, K through 12, and the parents, there was more than 1,000 people there. It was awesome to be there, and I got to play with the guitar and sing with the kids. And thank you, Rabbi Light, for this melody, because it's the TVT Lions, so he picked this, and we're going to use it for Psalm 97. Ooh, mama, away.
Oh, that's so fun. That's so fun and so lovely. And, Wimoe, my 3-year-old loves that song, is actually a Messianic song. It comes from a South African legend of a great tribal chief, the lion, who is sleeping, but who will someday come back to set the world right. We are headed into a Messianic psalm of our own, Psalm 98, which I think I said a few weeks ago is, we are told in the Talmud, the Psalm of the Messianic Redemption. This is the great psalm to announce the coming of a universal era of peace and of justice, of goodness and compassion. Shabbat invites us with these psalms and with its whole message of rest and restoration, invites us to imagine a better and different kind of world, invites us for one day out of the week to reconnect to the dream of what's possible, so that we can go back into the next 6 days, not only physically refreshed, but spiritually refreshed. So we sing this next psalm, and I wonder if we can try to imagine, if we can try to find the place within ourselves where hope lives, and to strengthen that place, to say, let this Shabbat be a chance to check back in with a hope that the world is on a trajectory somehow, some way, toward better, toward peace, toward justice, toward redemption. that we need to check back in with that dream. Psalm 98.
שירו לאדוני שיר חדש, כי נפלאות עשה, הושיע לו ימינו, וזרוע קודשו, הודיע אדוני, ישועתו לעיני הגויים, גילה צדקתו, זכר חסדו ואמונתו לבית ישראל. ראו כל עמי הארץ את ישועת אלוהינו, הביאו לאדוני כל הארץ, פיתחו ורננו וזמרו זמרו לאדוני בכינור וכל זמרה, בחצוצרות בקול שופר, הביאו לפני המלך אדוני, ירמיהו ומלואו, תבל ויושביו, נהרות שמחה וחג, יחד הרים מלבננו לפני אדוני, כי בא לשפוט הארץ, ישפוט דבר בצדק, בעמים במשאבים. יננני 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 יננני
sing Ana B'Koach tonight. We don't do that every Shabbos, but Ana B'Koach is just such a beautiful and mystical meditation on what it is to transition into Shabbat. That wonderful second part of the first line, Tatir Tzerura, untie the knots we find ourselves tied up in. As we're moving out of week and into Shabbat, find a knot, one way in which you feel tied up. It might be physically, under your left shoulder blade. It might be mentally a problem you have been trying to untie all week. And see if as we sing the song, you might feel it get just a little bit looser. That knot that we've been tied in this week could give way to a little bit of Shabbos peace. Ana b'koach.
Ana b'koach, gedulat yamincha, tati zerura, kabel binat amcha, sabinu tareinu nora, nagibor doreshei echudecha, kevamat shomrim, bachim tarim rachamim, tzidkatecha tamid gomlei, chasin kadosh verov tuvecha, na'el adatecha, יחיד גאה לעמך פני, זוכרי קדושתך, שבתנו קבל ושמע צעקתנו, יודע תעלומות, יודע תעלומות, ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד. Higher and higher, higher and higher, higher and higher and higher, higher and higher, higher and higher, higher and higher and higher.
And we're going to have David Swirsky from Moshav Band join us in a few months for Shabbat, right?
I'm so excited about that. He's one of my favorites.
Yeah. That's a Moshav Band tune.
It's a Korbach tune. It's a Shlomo Korbach tune. But, a lot of Moshav's music comes from there because they grew up on the Moshav.
Moshav,
with Rabbi Korbach. So
I so associate that melody with David and with that band, and just that invitation to go higher and higher and higher. Beautiful melody. Haven't heard that in a long time. Thank you for that.
all right. Rat Lechadodi, I'm going to sing the first verse and the middle verse and the last verse.
La 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 Lechadodi, la 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 likrat kala, la 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 b'nei Shabbat, b'nei Shabbat nekabel, la 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 Lechadodi, la 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 likrat kala, la 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 b'nei Shabbat, b'nei Shabbat nekabel. גדולה ולזמר לשמך העליון ולזמר לשמך העליון להגיד בבוקר חסדך ואמונתך מזמור שיר יום השבת טוב להודות לאדוני מזמור שיר יום השבת טוב להודות לאדוני.
I'm going to sing a new song, a new melody for you for the last bit of this psalm. Tzadik katamar yifrach. The righteous shall be like the cedar in Lebanon.
צדיק אתה מה יפרח כארץ בלבנון יזכה צדיק אתה מה יפרח כארץ בלבנון שתולים בבית אדוני בחצרות אלוהינו שתולים בבית אדוני יפריחו עוד ינובו בשיבה דשנים ורעננים יהיו עוד ינובו בשיבה דשנים ורעננים יהיו הגיע שר אדוני צורי ולא בלעת בו הגיע שר אדוני צורי ולא בלעת בו.
Beautiful, beautiful. In a few minutes, we'll have a prayer for healing, an opportunity to say Kaddish, and we'll close out this short Friday night service together. But before we do, a couple of words about an interesting to me at least, idea that comes out of this week's Parsha. We are, in general, a people who pause. We are a people who take our time to focus our minds and collect our hearts before entering into the doing of a mitzvah. Before we take a sip of wine, we recite Kiddush. Before we sit in the sukkah, we say a blessing. Before we light our Hanukkah candles or take that first bite of matzah at Pesach Seder, whatever it is, before we enter into the doing of a sacred act, we take a moment with the words of a bracha to get ourselves into the headspace that makes us ready to make the most of that bracha, make the most of that mitzvah, rather, to get to the core of what it is that we're doing. For almost every mitzvah, we have a bracha, except glaringly for one, and it's the great mitzvah that comes out of this week's Parsha. This week's Parsha is the Parsha that most explicitly gives us the mitzvah of tzedakah, gives us the mitzvah of righteous giving. Now, that concept comes up in multiple different places in the Torah, but Deuteronomy chapter 15 is really the center point where we dig into what it means to give generously, to give from the heart. And for those of us who will be together tomorrow morning at Shabbos morning services, in addition to a beautiful Hallelujah davening that we'll have together, we're going to do a little bit of text learning and discussion of the lines from the Torah, the verses from the Torah that discuss tzedakah. Tzedakah is a mitzvah without a bracha. Tzedakah is a mitzvah that we do, an essential mitzvah, a core mitzvah. Some might say one of the most important mitzvot, but there is no blessing to be said. There's no moment of spiritual preparation before we hand a hungry person food or before we make a donation to a worthy cause. And the rabbis have long asked why that is. One of the many answers that comes forward, and one that's particularly resonating with me right now, comes from Reb Simcha Bunim, one of my favorite of the Hasidic rabbis. You probably know Reb Simcha Bunim from that famous story that says that we should carry two notes in our pockets, one that says, I am but dust and ashes, for times when we're feeling pretty high and mighty, and another note that says, for my sake, the world was created, when we are not sure of ourselves, and that we should look in the correct pocket in order to self-correct the place that we find ourselves. Reb Simcha Bunim said about the mitzvah of tzedakah, there isn't a bracha, there isn't a blessing for giving tzedakah, because what if, God forbid, the hungry person should perish while we are standing there making prayers? That at certain moments, Reb Simcha says, we shouldn't take time to pause, to collect our thoughts, to set our intention. At certain moments, we just need to act. We need to act because there's suffering in the world. We need to act out of compassion. We need to act out of what we know in our heart to be true and right, that we don't need to check in with ourselves to ensure that we know that when we see suffering, our job is to try to lighten the load. So we are a people that generally knows how to pause and knows how to set intention. We are a people that sometimes are stirred to bold and decisive and immediate action. And it seems to me that in almost every situation where there is a sort of yin and a yang in our tradition, it's because for some of us, one of those things is home, and for the other is a growing edge. Some of us are really good at sitting and meditating and thinking and setting attentions and rethinking again and getting ourselves psyched up into the right place. Some of us are really good at that internal work, but actually getting to decisive action, getting to the execution, getting to the putting out what we intend to do in the world, that's a struggle. And others of us are people who have no problem taking bold and decisive action, but we could probably use the reminder to pause every once in a while, to think about what we're doing, to make sure that we are approaching our actions with intention and with the right mindset and the right values. And so I encourage you to think about, what is your home base and what is your growing edge? Are you a person who lives inside, who needs some encouragement to go out and just do the thing which you know in your heart is right? Are you a person who is a person of action, who knows that you need to find a few more moments in your day to pause and to breathe and to check in with your core and make sure that the direction you are walking is actually the direction that your heart and your conscience are telling you? Wherever your home base is, wherever your growing edge is, our Jewish tradition gives us a challenge to continue to grow to be the best version of ourselves, and an invitation in this particular moment to know when is the time to pause and when is the time to act, and to grow in both of those things to do God's work in the world. Shabbat Shalom.
We'll pause for just a moment to say a prayer of healing for those in our circle of friends and family and those in our community who are in need of healing of body or of spirit. I'm thinking especially tonight of Ofra, Bat Hosea, Shmuel.
Bless the ones before. מי שברך אמותינו מקור הברכה לאבותינו. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Come to the close of our service, we take the opportunity to remember with love those who we miss on this Shabbat. As a community, we are in particular thinking of Chucky Sampson, who passed this past Shabbat, and thinking, of course, about Joan, about Jeff and Adina, and about Brianna and Brandon and Austin, and also thinking about Chucky's other kids, Mark and Lori, and that whole wonderful family. Also thinking about Vida and Korush Kohanteb. Just the other day, Vida had to bid farewell to her beloved older brother. So thinking of both the Kohanteb and the Sampson family with a great deal of love. And if you are right now in a place of pain, a place of grief, I hope that saying the words of Kaddish and affirming the ongoing truth of love that people die, but love and memory never does, brings you a measure of comfort as we walk into this Shabbat. Please join me, if you wish, in the words of Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbi, v'yama divrach hirutei, v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, v'agala v'zman kariv, v'yimru, Amen. Yehei shmei Rabba mevorach le'olam omei omaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. Yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shmei d'kudusha v'yichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbachata v'nechamata. Damiran v'yalma v'yimru. Amen. Yehei shlama Rabba min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mamav. Say shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'yimru, amen. May the one who makes peace on high make peace for us and for all who mourn. And we say together, amen.
Amen.
Shalom aleichem, malachei hasharet, malachei elyon. Melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. Boachem l'shalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon. Melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. Barchuni l'shalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon. Melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. Tzeitkhem l'shalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon. Melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu.
Good Shabbos.
Shabbat shalom, Cantor Amy,
Shabbat
that was
shalom.
beautiful. Thank you for that. Shabbat gift. Can't wait to share Hallelu with you tomorrow morning.
I'm so excited. You know, this is, we did do one last year, but we were still quite distant and stuff. So this is really only the second one and the first one in a long time that we've done. And it's just so fun to be together and to sing. And really the idea of Hallelujah is to sing the whole morning long. So come sing your heart out with us. If you can't be with us, tune in online and sing your heart out with us in your living room. And I'm so excited.
Can't wait to see so many of you there.